Welcome to the Aussie Game podcast, where we talk all things Australian football. Massive week coming up. We've had young stars shining in England, late drama at Coopers. Eli Adams tries to break the net in Western Sydney. The Olyroos limp out of the Asian Cup. Matt Ryan tackles the best in the world. Hart still leading in Scotland, and some big Matildas transfer news. All of that's come, and we'll finish with our team of the week. Mopper, what a week of Australian football.
Oh, welcome everyone. Geez, don't blink and don't breathe, because it all happened again this week, and got some great cup action to cover. Lots of Aussies in action throughout Europe and in England. And wow, what about at home? I just looked at, we were just past Sydney FC's game today, and I just looked at the draw, Chief, and Sydney FC have got the Big Blue on Australia Day, followed by the Sydney Derby, then going to Auckland. What about them for the next three? I can't wait to break into the A-League. Absolutely sensational. And then what about our triple S's? Super Sammy Silvera and Superman Segecic overnight. What a great story to tell. So, wow, let's get into it.
All right. As you said, let's start in the championship because, a couple of absolutely amazing performances. Let's start with Sammy Silvera. Starred for Middlesbrough, scoring their second goal, beautifully taken, low drive from outside the box. And then also, just as they looked to be throwing away a 2-0 lead, he got the assist for the winner with a beautifully well-weighted pass as Middlesbrough maintained second spot with a 3-2 win over West Brom. Silvera is in a rich vein of form. He now has 2 goals and 2 assists in his past 3 games. He was playing on the right of a midfield 4. We have seen him deployed as a left wing back for Middlesbrough early in the season, but Mopper is certainly a player in form at the moment, isn't he?
Well, how exciting. What a change they had with Rob Edwards, where he was just coming on, as we discussed before, and bits and pieces. And then it was interesting where he was going to fit in with the new coach, wasn't it? And he had to wait a little while, but then as soon as he got his opportunity, hasn't he taken it? He's just on fire against Fulham before, and the week before he scored again. And now it backs it up again. The confidence is high. And we're so super excited for him, aren't we? Because this is what we love to see. And all Australian fans must just wake up and see those clips and highlights and just go, oh, fantastic effort. And the Central Mariners fans especially, seeing one of their own do so well over there. And it's just been a great week for Sammy. And when the confidence is high, mate, this is what happens. And I love that little touch into the box. Wasn't it beautiful at the end there for Finish the Borough to get the 3 points? And it almost looked like Coventry were, going to let them back in, but they slipped home last night. So, but they're still in that title hunt after a little speed bump mid about a few weeks ago there, but they're certainly back on track.
Yeah, let's talk Sammy Silvera. Still only 25 years old. It's easy to forget that. He did leave the A-League at quite a young age, and he's gone to various clubs over there in England, but very much seems to have found a home at Middlesbrough this season. And plenty of Middlesbrough fans very happy with his performances, talking about the want to extend his contract and lock him in. And what a change, as you said, new manager there, Hellman, coming in. And he's had to wait a bit of time, but he's got his opportunity there on the right. And a player full of confidence. And when we do kind of talk about, as we edge closer and closer to this World Cup, we do want to take players there that are full of confidence. They don't have to be the best players that we've absolutely got. We want players that are, feeling good about themselves. And if Silvera can keep up with this form, he's going to be very much on the radar of Tony Popovic.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's after a little bit of wilderness there, wasn't it, for a few months after that New Zealand game where he at home there. So, it's exciting, isn't it? Yeah, just keep it up. Hopefully he stays fit. There's plenty of games in the championship. And, it's hopefully he keeps up this great vein of form and stays healthy. And, it's big decisions to make in a couple of months, which is great. If you put yourself out there, this is what it's all about.
Absolutely, mate. And that was Saturday morning, and we woke up this morning, Sunday morning, to another Aussie having an incredible contribution, Superman Segecic in the championship, back amongst the goal scorers, got the winner in the 65th minute as Pompey beat Sheffield Wednesday 1-0. What a crucial win that was, even though Wednesday are rooted to the bottom of the table. Pompey in a fair bit of trouble down toward that end of the table as well. The win keeps them 1 point above the relegation zone. Segecic, Portsmouth's top scorer, they haven't had the greatest season, but he's their top scorer in the league with 5 goals. So it just shows you what a contribution that he is making in his first season in the championship.
Yeah, and he missed that time with injury. You can't forget that. And he's a lot of games behind the others who have been playing week in, week out. He's bounced back well. You're 100% right about how important this win was. It just would have been a nervy 1-0 win against Sheffield, but they were in desperate need of these 3 points. They had to get them and to get the winner and to play a good game. And he played well against Arsenal too. Played a couple of moves. It would have been hard for him to get the ball, but it's just been another great week for Segecic as he returns, and he's been in red-hot form. And, yeah, what a great stat. He's the top goal scorer. That's just incredible, isn't it? And, it's great news for the boys, Super Segecic and Super Sammy Silvera. That's great stuff for the Socceroos and the potential Socceroos leading into the World Cup.
Yeah, well, let's not forget that Segecic hasn't been called up or hasn't played any minutes for the Socceroos as yet. So he's still chomping at the bit, and I'm sure if he gets his chance in March, he'll be very keen to get some minutes. As you mentioned last weekend, Pompey had a bit of a rough day against Arsenal, got knocked out of the FA Cup 4-1, but Segecic reportedly played quite well, and there was a nice little viral clip of him going around for a nutmeg on Ben White. Yeah, it's probably just one of those opportunities. As you say, it's the best club team in the country at the moment for England, and it's a good chance for him to showcase what he can do in that kind of format. So 73 minutes in that one, and Jacob Farrell was an unused sub, unfortunately for Pompey, but certainly a man in form, and we know how devastating he can be when he's in top gear.
Yep, absolutely. And we just wish Pompey gets on a bit of a run now, and with him leading the line there, chipping in with those goals, let's hope they can just move to a little bit of a safer position. All right, we better move on to the other teams. There's other Aussies in action, and it's exciting to see. QPR in the championship, they draw a blank away to Stoke 0-0, but good signs for our Aussies. Daniel Benny and Keely Adamson getting on in the second half. That was good news. Unfortunately, they couldn't break the deadlock, but QPR consolidate to 11th with a point. These were Keely Adamson's first league minutes since August.
Adamson got some time off the bench last weekend for the FA Cup game when they lost to West Ham. So hopefully that's an opportunity for him to start building up his minutes, because he's certainly been few and far between. He did get some time when he first went over there, but it's been pretty quiet for him since. And we hope that Adamson and Benny can continue these minutes, and then even Pearman, now that he's heading home there soon, can start to build his minutes as well at QPR.
Absolutely. We wish the boys well. Hopefully they can get a start soon. So over in Swansea, in the championship, Cam Burgess starts as his side pick up a crucial point against Birmingham in a 1-1 draw. Keeps them 6 points above the relegation zone. So we've got a few sides down there around that zone, so we've got to be very careful. Last weekend also too, Swansea were knocked out of the FA Cup, losing on penalties 6-5 to West Brom after a 2-2 draw with Cam Burgess, a second half substitute in that game. He come on in the 61st minute. But I want to remind you this, Chief. I looked at the penalty shootout, and Burgess slots home penalty number 4 in the shootout. So just saying, Popper, you better get him in that top 5, mate. He slotted a nice penalty there. If we move over to Blackburn, no Lewis Miller. Couldn't get some news on him as Blackburn got smashed 3-0 away. They're in a bit of trouble as well, Blackburn. But we go back to last weekend. Captain Lewis Miller led his side, and as they drew 0-0 with Hull City. But unfortunately, they lose in the penalty shootout as well in the FA Cup, 4-3. He didn't take a penalty, but note, played on the right wing, right side again in that midfield formation that Blackburn has changed to.
Just on Lewis Miller, mate, looks like that he had been carrying an injury for a little while in the team. So I think given a rest against Ipswich, and fingers crossed it's not too bad, because we've got too many injuries stacking up with our Socceroos.
Definitely. Over in Derby, we get Callum Elder. They bounced back after an FA Cup defeat early in the week, and last weekend, as we've seen the week out, they had a great 1-0 win over Preston. He played a full game, had 7 clearances, and pushes Derby back up to 12, only 3 points away from the playoff. Unfortunately, they lost that FA Cup, though, early in the week. In Watford, they were high-flying, but the FA Cup result didn't go too well for them either, and they also lost overnight, suffering a 2-0 home loss. They're pretty good at home, Watford, but not last night. Millwall got the points, and Irakunda, our Australian second-half substitute in the 66th minute, and unfortunately they dropped to 8th, equal points with Stoke on 7th, who have a better goal difference. That's a wrap for the championship, mate. Any thoughts on those teams?
Oh, it's just very tight, isn't it? As you said, with Derby in 12th, but 3 points off the playoffs. It's, still a fair way to go in the championship, but hopefully we can get a few of our teams right up there. Obviously, Middlesbrough flying the flag, get the boys that are in relegation trouble out of that, and hopefully get a few more clubs like Derby and Watford pushing up into the playoffs. That would be really exciting come the end of the season. Let's jump down to League One, mate. Start with Port Vale. Not a good day for Aussie manager John Brady as they lose 3-0 to Mansfield. Joe Gauci still on the bench, so it seems like that cup appearance for him was just a one-off. But look, if they keep dropping games like this, he might get a recall sooner rather than later. At Wigan, they go down 1-0 at home to Bolton, with Rafael Borges Rodriguez playing a full game, and Tyrese Francois was a late sub in that one. Down to Cardiff, league leaders Cardiff win 2-1 away to Bradford and move clear at the top with Alex Robinson starting and getting 78 minutes. Crucial win for the league as they are now 6 points clear from Lincoln and 9 from Bradford. Looking pretty good things to get promoted there, Cardiff. So that would be great news for Alex Robertson. Just wanted to bring your attention, Mopper, to the FA Cup fourth round ties. We've still got a few Aussies flying the flag. Southampton playing Leicester. Potentially Harry Souttar might be back in time for that one for Leicester. What about Wigan travelling to the Emirates to play Arsenal? Massive challenge for Wigan, but I'm sure our two Aussies there at Wigan will do us proud. And then Port Vale playing Bristol City. So, fingers crossed for Port Vale because they're struggling in League One and Bristol City doing quite well in the Championship. Sam Kerr in the Women's FA Cup. Chelsea cruised to a 5-0 win over Crystal Palace, with Kerr scoring a double in that one. And then some exciting transfer news. Caitlin Torpey has left America, and she's gone to sign with Newcastle United in the WSL 2. Newcastle currently sitting 4th in that competition, 8 points behind leaders Charlton, but only 3 points behind Birmingham in second. Only the winner of the league gets promoted. So, tough contest to try and get promoted, but hopefully Caitlin Torpey can have an impact in the back end of the season and get promoted into the WSL.
Yeah, I think some of these Premier League clubs are taking the Women's Super League a lot more serious now and getting their credentials right for the back half and maybe the start of next year to push promotion. It is tough in that WSL, as you said. You've got to win the league to be promoted. Charlton's winning it at the moment, so you never know. Hopefully Torpey can be a massive addition and they can go on a good run and try to challenge Charlton for the lead. All right, Chief, let's go over in Europe and over in Italy and Parma. We see some midweek action with Captain Circati again. And they met league contenders Napoli in what was a very good game away from home too. And Circati helps his team to a massive 0-0 result. Big news out of Napoli. They absolutely got stalemated by Parma. So a great clean sheet for him and 8 defensive contributions and really consolidated their lower mid-table with that crucial point. Last weekend, prior to that, we seen Parma away to Lecce too in a crucial game after we recorded. Both clubs were lower end of mid-table and Circati starts in the heart of defence. They got off to a poor start. They conceded in the first minute, but Lecce lost their discipline in that game. They had 2 players sent off and Parma strike back 2-1 to claim a very important victory. again, Circati had another 8 defensive contributions in another good game and moves Parma up to 14th. And again, they consolidate again last night with that Napoli draw. And what a crucial 4 points that was for Parma. And again, we've seen Circati get the captain's armband.
Oh, they love him over there, don't they, mate? And yeah, what a star he is becoming right in front of our eyes. So super consistent, as you read out, with those starts and contributions. And yeah, let's hope that he can keep his Parma in the Serie A for next season. But who knows, mate? He may not even be at the club anyway if some of these transfer rumours and links come about.
All right. And we've got some interesting news from Roma. We've seen a lot of hype over there during the week in the Coppa Italia. We've seen dual citizen Antonio Arena score a debut goal at 16. You'll see the clips on there if you go to X or on YouTube. The player has been capped for Australia at under 16 level, but has also played for Italy under 16, 17, and 18, scoring 4 goals, a couple at a World Cup. We have seen another dual citizen, Valpardo, in Serie A as well. And important to note, though, that neither have been called up by either country to make their senior debut yet. So that was some interesting news out of Italy. We wish both boys well. And yeah, look, hopefully, they make some decisions in the future, and we wish their development well and see what happens when they make their seniors debut and who actually selects them, or if they do select them. What are your thoughts on that? We've got a question coming in from Noel. You want to go through that one, Chief?
Yeah, thanks, Noel, for your question. He's asked, would you try to entice Antonio Arena to the World Cup in the Garan Quol role? So I suppose that's the wild card role, the one year that people are kind of least expecting. I think, potentially probably haven't seen enough of the kid to know what his qualities are, but obviously seen the clip go viral. I did note on the goal itself, his movement before the ball came in. He's constantly moving, which is a really good sign for an attacking player. Always on his toes, and great leap for the goal. But yeah, probably he's getting lots of plaudits, so he must have something about him. But I think why wouldn't Popovic at least be in his ear and having a conversation? He's obviously played for Australian teams before, and just give him a quiet word, say on the radar, and let's see how he performs at the back end of the season, and he might just get an opportunity there. But I think there's probably no reason to hit the panic button just yet and just cap him for the sake of capping him. It's probably just more about having those conversations. So what do you think? Do you think he's any chance of sneaking into the World Cup? We have a lot of talent in those attacking positions.
No, I don't think any chance. And I just let the football do the talking, and yeah, let the young fella go through the journey and decide when he's ready. If you obviously have the initial conversation and say the branch is out there if you want to represent us, and let him just do the work. There's so many players with dual citizenship these days that you can choose, and there's certain rules with and regulations that players have plenty of flexibility. So just let the kid play, and yeah, we'd wish him well, and we'll follow him and see if we can get some notes on him. And yeah, let's just see what happens. Like if you look at that Italy squad as well, there's no guarantee that you're going to be able to go through your ranks and make your senior debut anyway. We've seen that with a lot of players. So they've still got a long way to go at 16, and it's just exciting to see him over there. And he was born here, and I think Western Sydney Wanderers was a team that he first went to over here on the professional side. But yeah, just let the football do the talking, and if you've had the olive branch and said if you're ready, and let the kid make the decision where he wants to play. He's played for both of us, so he's probably just weighing up his options to see where his level gets to as well. Don't forget too, because he might choose either one. We've seen Italy not make the World Cup, and we've seen Australia make 6 consecutive. So there's so many scenarios that could play out. That's why just let him play football, son.
Yeah, I think, look, he's going to end up choosing the country he feels most aligned to, which would be a tough decision for a young player that's got the dual nationality. But look, I think it doesn't hurt to have that conversation and say, look, we're loving what you're doing, and we'd love to have you as part of our setup at some point. Doesn't mean it's going to be for the full national team. There's plenty of levels below that where he could start to get some opportunity. Look at James Overy recent times and kind of what he's done. So, yeah, there's always opportunity going forward. But, yeah, you're probably right.
Players don't want to overcommit either. Like, players don't want to overcommit because what happens if his career doesn't get to the standard of what Italy want? You know what I mean? And, like, you don't want to, put all your cards in one team, do you? Like, you just got to see how your career goes and, and see where you're at that age and see where you develop. It's too risky to go, I want to do this or that, because it might not work out either way, and then might be no turning back by the time you be able to make a decision.
Yeah, very true, mate. All right, let's leave that one there. Let's go to Spain, mate. Levante. Matt Ryan's a busy boy as always. Yeah, played Real Madrid overnight. Real Madrid got the 2-0 win. Yeah, Matt Ryan makes 9 saves, 7 inside the box as Real Madrid created 26 shots and a penalty goal. Tough night for Matty Ryan as they remain 5 points clear of safety. But what an opportunity to come up against the likes of Vinicius and Mbappe and Bellingham. Must be almost like a pinch yourself moment for Matty Ryan, even though he is an out-and-out professional and he would have played against some top players in his time.
Oh, absolutely, at the Bernabeu, and yeah, what a night. Unfortunately, they're still 5 points off relegation, but that performance was really good, and I think 0-0 at half time. Some great saves there. Unfortunately, with the penalty, he's had a great game. 9 saves is huge. 7 inside the box with those quality strikers, so that's massive. And the most important thing is early on the week they had an earlier game as well, where Levante had picked up a valuable point against high-flying Espanyol, who were coming 5th at the time. They had a 1-1 draw, and he had Matt Ryan had no chance. It was a screamer for Espanyol in the top corner. As his defence stood off, really let him down. But his team equalised and picked up a valuable point. So they're picking up points here and there. But yeah, you're definitely right. He's had a massive week in Espanyol and Real Madrid, and wow, they got a point out of it. So I'm sure most teams wouldn't even get that.
Yep, let's hope he keeps chipping away over there in Spain. Let's go to Scotland, mate. Some very interesting things coming out of Scotland. So let's go to this morning. Let's talk Hearts to start with. They were knocked out of the Scottish FA Cup by Falkirk this morning. And yeah, fortunately, Cam Devlin wasn't in action. He's been ruled out for 6 to 8 weeks with an injury he picked up in the 2-0 win over St Mirren. Was a resilient display as Devlin's team goes down to 10 men in the 17th minute, but second half goal secured the win before Devlin was taken off in stoppage time. And then last weekend, just after we finished recording, they went down to 10 men again, making it hard for themselves. This time against Dundee SC, but crucially, they picked up the 1-0 win. These latest results mean that Hearts are 6 points clear of Celtic and Rangers, but how are they going to cope without their midfield maestro, Cammy Devlin, for 6 to 8 weeks, mate?
Yeah, and well, look, they've been impacted already, haven't they? They lost on penalties at home to Falkirk 5-4, so you've already seen some initial impact, or you could obviously say maybe they're just targeting the league because they know how important that is, because why have another distraction? But they have all sides in Scotland at the top there, dived into the transfer market, so, but I don't think they were expecting a defensive midfielder that they might have to address. They were looking for more attacking midfield players. So maybe, yeah, look, 6 to 8 weeks, it's a long time. I guess the only thing is if he gets back within 6 to 8 weeks, he's still going to be right for those important when they divide the groups up, and they'll be back for hopefully the bigger game. So I guess that's a positive, but their next game's against Celtic, is it not?
Yeah, I believe so. Yep.
Yeah, so wow, we're going to see really Hearts' response because they've got a couple of injuries now. So, but you never know. Football's a funny game, and yeah, they might have to change a few things up. It's just sad for him, isn't it? He's been probably the player of the year for for me. He's just been outstanding in that Hearts side, and it's going to be a big miss. And we wish him the well with his recovery, as we always do for every one of our players. But yeah, sad news because Hearts were just on fire, and let's hope his team can pick up the pieces while he gets fit.
Puts him in a huge amount of doubt for that March window as well, which is really unfortunate for Devlin, but as you said, hopefully speedy recovery for him and he's back on the field sooner rather than later. Let's go to Aberdeen, mate, as they go down 2-0 to Rangers at home with Nicholas Milanovic getting a rare start and 68 minutes. Nick Suman was an unused sub and Yengi not in the matchday squad all. Not a good season at all for Aberdeen after such a good one last season. A bit of Scottish Cup fourth round action. Motherwell secure their passage with a 1-0 win over Ross County. All three Aussies starting. Oscar Priestman, Johnny Katrumbas playing full games, and Stamslopoulos coming off in the second half. And then we saw Dundee United with a 2-0 win this morning at home to Ayr. Sats had played a half and Ryan Strain the last 25 as they progress. And then unfortunately Livingston, they lost on penalties to St Mirren after a 1-1 draw. Ryan McGowan, captain of the side, Tenny Yengi came on in the 83rd minute. So a few mixed results there for our Aussies in Scotland.
Yep, Scottish FA Cup. They had a few midweek games and a few overnight games early in the week, and they move in the FA Cup. And the attention will quickly turn back to that Premier League race next week. So exciting stuff happening there, especially with Europe coming for Rangers and Celtic. So the calendar doesn't stop. All right, we better go to Netherlands, and we go back to the start of the week again, where Feyenoord settled for a 2-2 draw against Heerenveen and remain in second place, 13 points behind PSV. Jordan Bosch plays a full game, but he gets a nice assist again in this one. He looked pretty sharp in that game. Heracles, well, the free kick sensation, Ajdin Hrustic, scored another stunner, didn't he? He loves those free kicks. But it wasn't enough as Heracles unfortunately get knocked out in cup football. And they lost 2-1 on penalties to the go-ahead Eagles. I looked at the penalties. Hrustic missed the penalty, so he's not in my World Cup lineup. Cam Burgess taking penalty number 1.
He did score one in the Europa League final all those years ago, so
he did.
He can do it on the big stage.
Can you put the penalty outside the box maybe for him? I know that's not allowed. I'm only joking. All right, we'll go on to obviously another Heracles performance, and he played a full game, but they went down this morning 2-0 to Sparta. This leaves them rock bottom, but only 1 point behind the bottom four side. So not a good week for Heracles. NAC Breda, Max Ballard played 90 minutes as his side go down 4-3 in a nail-biter over fourth place NEC Nijmegen. Breda came from behind twice, but they conceded in stoppage time. That's a killer to lose and remain down the bottom, which is not good news for the two Aussie side, Heracles and Breda. So
I was following that Breda game, and even with a point, they were out of the guaranteed. They were into the relegation playoff spot. So it's so tight down the bottom there. So really unfortunate that they lost that one.
Yeah, and they've been competitive, so hopefully they can stick it out. In Germany, very sad news for the Bundesliga boys in St. Pauli. Both Aussies out injured in this one, and their side went down 3-2. So, Metcalf injured, Irvine injured, and we've got a comment from Jason FC. Irvine, possible long-term injury, and Popper replacement options chief for the World Cup. What are you thinking? So thanks for that, Jace.
Yeah, really great question. I think the good thing, silver lining in this, is that we did deal through a lot of the qualification without Jackson Irvine. So we have had the opportunity to blood some other players, like the likes of Max Ballard, Paul Erkon-Engsler. We've got Teague, Devlin injured at the moment, Yazbek. So, we do have a lot of depth in there. We've got the consistent Aidan O'Neill as well. So I don't think any of them do the same job as Jackson Irvine, but I don't think we necessarily need to go out and find a replacement for Irvine specifically, because I just don't think we have the type of player that does what he does. But I think in terms of depth, we already spoke about in our lock shot or not episode a couple of weeks back how many of these defensive midfielders are going to miss the World Cup anyway. That included Jackson Irvine in. So I don't think we necessarily need to go searching far and wide. I think they're there. They have been in squads or getting some game time in the Socceroos, and it's just a matter of working out if we don't, fingers crossed we do, but if we don't have Jackson Irvine for the World Cup, what do we do there and how do we change our formation and our style and our approach? But what do you think? Do you think there's a player that's closely resembles Jackson Irvine?
No, we've seen them all. Jackson Irvine's quality passer of the ball and is strong and helps us transition the ball. I don't think we've got that type of player, mate. I think I just hope that Jackson Irvine gets back. It's only 6 to 8 weeks, hopefully, and they can get him back to full fitness. Unfortunately, they're all different, like you said, aren't they? Our defensive midfielders, and probably Ajdin O'Neill, Max Ballard, probably the better passers of the ball, while Yazbek, Devlin are the more defensive types, even though Ballard and O'Neill's got that in them. But when you've seen Jackson Irvine come in for those short minutes in the last friendlies and then started, how better did we look transitioning the football from the back half to the next line through the passing lanes? He just is so good on the ball, and unfortunately O'Neill and Ballard probably is not at that level. So we'll probably be quite constricted in there defensively, but I think our ability to move the ball through the middle of the pitch will have to be relied on, I think, a little bit wider with Geordie Boss as more of a exit strategy, and we just won't have that flexibility if he doesn't make the squad. But I think Jackson Irvine is a prototype, and we don't have that type of player, I don't think. I think Paul Ocon Engsler will be the next one, but is probably a year or two off and probably 4 years off reaching Jackson Irvine's, even getting to near his standard.
Yeah, he's quite a unicorn in that way because, as you said, he does pass the ball really well. But some of the other attributes that I don't think many of our other players have is that his ability to carry the ball forward as well. But he also makes really intelligent runs into those channels as well, to either to receive the ball or to drag players away. So yeah, I just don't think it's almost like we're going to have to take the best parts of Jackson Irvine and find other bits and pieces of qualities of different players and work out how to do that. And yeah, I don't mind your shout about utilizing Geordie Boss more in terms of exiting and transitioning our offense because, yeah, it would be a big miss. But as you said, hopefully it is a recurrence of his foot injury that he had before. Let's hope it's not as long term as it was before, and it's just a little setback, and he can be back on the pitch pretty soon.
And Jace, yeah, we just want him fit, mate. So send all the help we can to him, and yeah, we just need him. Irreplaceable.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Appreciate the question, Jace. All right. Let's go to Bundesliga 2 because 18-year-old Dylan Leonard made the bench for league-leading Schalke in their 0-0 draw with Hertha Berlin. You kind of forget what big clubs are down there in Bundesliga 2, mate, when you look at those two. But yeah, what an exciting opportunity that is to make the bench for the former Western United player that's now doing his thing over in Germany. And yeah, let's hopefully he can see some minutes pretty soon.
Highly promising youngster, isn't he? And yeah, I can't wait to watch his development over the next couple of years. Hopefully get some time in the under-20s as well so we can see him play more football. And yeah, what a good setup to be in Schalke, hey? What about that? Like in Bundesliga too. And Hertha Berlin, yeah, these were stalwarts of the Bundesliga. So yeah, hopefully Dylan Leonard will lead them out of there. And yeah, we'll hopefully see him in the Bundesliga soon.
Yeah, let's hope so, mate. A bit of other transfer news. Milos Degenek this week signed for Apoel Nicosia in Cyprus. So he's moved from Serbia. And Remy Simpson, she signed with Rosengard, the previous year's champions in 2023-24. So yeah, both Remy Simpson and Amy Sayer left Kristianstad, but have stayed in the Swedish league. And yeah, we've spoken before about how we think that's a quality league for players to develop. So probably good moves for both of those girls.
Yeah, I looked up Rosengard actually were the champions in 23-24. So they seem to go up and down in the table. But yeah, previous year champions. So yeah, hopefully they can bounce back, and we've got some Aussies at the top of the table next year as well. All right, buddy, let's go on to the national teams, and let's start with the Olyroos under 23s.
Do we
Well,
have
we've
to?
seen them scrape home against. We do, man. That's just reality. We've seen them. Well, let's start. We'll start at their journey that when they beat Thailand 2-1, and I want to note that the only goal we conceded was from a set piece, and then unfortunately when we played China, we conceded from a set piece. There was 3 changes in that game, but it was the first half. It was a bit dour, wasn't it? It was a bit of an arm wrestle, very physical side China, and all come down to the Iraq game. And well, we weren't in the competition at one stage as Iraq hit the lead after another bit of a. Our first halves haven't been great in this tournament. We were down 1-0, we're out of the tournament, but we come back late to draw, which played in our favour as China drew with Thailand in the other game. So we're through, but then we ended up topping the group, which is probably to our detriment in the end because it meant that we won 2-1 against Iraq, but we put us on a path with South Korea. And unfortunately, again, we went down 2-1. And I think the root cause of the Olyroos performance in this Asia Cup was their third goal they conceded from a set piece. And they went down 2-1 and are knocked out of the Asia under-23s in the quarterfinal stage. Korea Republic scored their first with their striker getting a long ball and taking his shot first time to loft it over Stephen Hall. Luka Jovanovic equalised for Australia with a nice move from Jed Drew, who drove forward and toward the opposition defence, and he slid a nice ball through to Jovanovic, who calmly slotted it home. And then we had some small chances, half chances there with Nathaniel, scored a winner, but it was Korea Republic who scored from that corner in the 88th minute, and we didn't really create anything after that. A late header from Overy, went over the bar, but he didn't get really good contact on it. And we're gone. And what's your overall wrap of the 23s with all the adversity they faced just to get there with all the selection dramas?
Well, let's go back right to the start, mate. And with the selection of the squad, and we know that there was up to 10 players who were wanting, who Tony Vivard did want to call up, but weren't made available. And we gave our opinion on that a couple of weeks ago. But I think it comes back to how seriously are we taking this tournament? Because let's be really honest, it was a lackluster tournament for Australia. And, you know, I think we've got to make a decision around these tournaments. I get that this one didn't lead to anything. It didn't lead to Olympic qualification, but it's still local tournament in your confederation to go and win and to stamp your mark across the area. And I just don't think from the start, if we're picking players and then clubs are having the choice to not make them available, straight away that puts us on the back foot. And that maybe other clubs, maybe other countries are in a similar position as well. But I think we need to start to take these tournaments a bit more seriously. In 2 years' time, this is going to be the qualifiers for the Olympics. And we know on the men's side how poor our qualification has been for the Olympics over the recent Olympic Games. So it's a massive. In 2 years' time, and I know I'm kind of jumping ahead, but in 2 years' time, we really need to take this tournament seriously. We went out in a whimper before the Paris Olympics, and it just wasn't good enough. And now I think it's an underwhelming performance to be knocked out in the quarterfinals. And let's be really honest about it. The Thailand game, we went behind. We equalised with a penalty, and then we went ahead with a worldie from Matthias McAllister. We did have some other chances in the game, but so did Thailand. China, they had a game plan there. They scored and then they sat in and they defended, and we couldn't break them down. And I think some of that is the players that were picked, and some of it is tactics. And then the Iraq game, as you said, we were gone. We were out of the tournament. And if we'd gone out in that group stage, which maybe we should have, I think there would be far more criticism of this tournament for the under 23s. But I just think that it really glossed over the fact that we just weren't up to it in this tournament. And, of course, we got through to Iraq, and you can say that's resilience and that's doggedness and never say die attitude. Yeah, of course, all of that. But then, yeah, as you said, we coming up against Korea Republic, and again, don't really take our chances and get done on a few set pieces. So yeah, I really even with the players that had been selected, I had really high hopes for this tournament that we could go far. And yeah, I'm just really disappointed that we haven't progressed further than the quarterfinal stage. But what do you think? Am I being too critical of how we've performed in this tournament?
No, I really think the hard lessons are learned. I think the style of playing football wasn't good in any of the games, to be honest. It wasn't pretty, was it? It was very dour. It just couldn't understand the philosophy of what the team were running with. And maybe that was down. I don't want to criticise the players or personnel because of the 10 missing or vice versa, but it is a situation that they've had to deal with. I'm really disappointed in the root cause of the way we conceded. I thought, we conceded against the set piece in the first game. I think the warning sign was there to fix it. We concede again. The warning sign's there. How could we not identify that risk? And then I seen the setup, and I don't like to be critical, but I did see the setup in that corner, and I go back and have a look at it. It was awful, or from when the setup in the start. They're trying to defend that corner, and it wasn't good. And again, key moments in tournaments win football games, and I reckon those set pieces were extremely costly. And I think I think the football on top of it, that we couldn't play an aggressive style, or I couldn't see we talked about this last week, the different styles of Australian football. It was kind of mix of everything that we've seen from the senior football down to the youth levels, and it just wasn't consistent. And again, they've just had some adversity, but every other team in this tournament has gone through the same thing with the FIFA window. But yeah, we want to be succeeding in these tournaments, and unfortunately, just don't think that balance with the side was right. We didn't have a left back. That was spoken about. So, why play a left back if we don't have a left back? Play three at the back. I don't know. Tactically, just change it up. So this, I know we're probably disappointed because we lost, but when you look back at some of the key decisions, they've definitely impacted the outcome, and we've probably got what we deserved when you look at it overall. So I think your comments are very valid. And it's just unfortunate these guys don't get more football for the under-23s and can't progress to that next round. But yeah, it's just that it's like we've gone backwards, haven't we? Where all these other teams have succeeded at this level. And I did say though last week, there's been a massive change in the 23s from 12 to 18 months ago. A lot of those players are now 24 and hitting their prime, and you're seeing them in key leagues. But it was always going to be difficult when you can't pick the key players with a FIFA date window. And a lot of our players at the age bracket are either with the Socceroos that are doing well, or at their club starting, or on the bench in key European ties. So it's always going to be extremely difficult to get any of those top tier players. And I think we've gone from emerging ones. Let's look at the positives. McAllister, he's really been a shining light, hasn't he? That's a good positive sign. And we've probably blooded some inexperienced players and some younger 20s into this side. So maybe, hopefully, by the time they get to those 2 years, we can correct this and we can get the set pieces right as well.
Yeah, probably the only other thing I want to say on the 23s is I was a bit shocked that our players that are based overseas didn't start more and didn't get more game time. Thinking about Jed Drew, this was his first start against Korea Republic in the last game. I think this was Lewis Agosti's first start in the game. James Overy didn't start in the first game. And even Marcus Eunice, I think this was his first start, or he may not have even started in this game. So I think, unless there's significant reasons as to why those particular players weren't picked, I'm a bit puzzled that they aren't getting the opportunity when they're playing in good leagues around the world. And even if they're not playing, they're training in high intensity environments. And I think that could have been brought into our squad and given us a bit of an edge over some of the other teams. So I was quite puzzled by that.
Yeah, it was just a disappointing campaign from start to finish, wasn't it? And the boys will be very upset, and they'll just have to bounce back the next time they get the opportunity. But like you said, the year goes so quick, isn't it? They'll be in that window where they've got to think and qualify for the Olympic Games if we can crack it, because we're going to come up against some probably better nations or stronger sides when they get their sides back too. So it'll be an interesting one. It's very difficult, the 23s, when you're dealing with those windows, but you doesn't disregard the performances and some of those decisions that you validly made. All right, mate, we've got to go to the under-17 Joeys. They beat Fiji, obviously the Fiji under-19s in the government tournament over there. They won 2-0. It was a dominant display from the Joeys over Fiji, which saw them get a 2-0 win. They missed a very early penalty to Australia, and they peppered Fiji's goal. Max Court, young little star he is, opened up the scoring with a beautiful curling free kick before Joey Sakura shows some good feet in the second half with his left-footed shot finding the back of the net. So nice little cameo there and a good win over the Fiji under-19 side. And that's a wrap from the Australian national sides. And now let's go back home to the puzzle, the A-League. Because I tell you what, there's lots of missing pieces, Chief. And once again, we've seen some drama, we've seen excitement, we've seen upsets, we've seen everything again in the A-League, and it just keeps delivering.
Oh, it's just an absolutely bonkers league, and every time you think you can work it out, it throws some surprises at you, which it did again this weekend. Starting Friday night, Melbourne City overcame a poor first half to run over the top of Auckland FC and cement their place in the top six. Socceroo Ryan Teague was included in City's starting lineup just a couple of days after signing. But it was his Socceroos teammate Kai Truan who was at the centre of the action only 5 minutes in when Luis Gallegos slid in on Truan, picking up a yellow card. Truan tried to play on but was withdrawn in the 24th minute for Zane Schreiber. So hopefully that's not a too bad an injury for Kai Truan. Auckland did have the best chance of the first half, but it took a piece of brilliance from Jesse Randall in first half stoppage time, whose precision pass was received by Lockie Brook to go equal top in the Golden Boot race. City started the brighter in the second half, and they were able to equalise in the 70th minute. Substitute Andreas Kuhn fired a shot at goal, and a largely unsighted Francis de Vries handled the ball, leading to a penalty converted by Max Caputo, who also jumped to equal top in the Golden Boot race. Is that a pen for you, mate?
Oh, yeah, it's a pen. It's just unlucky, isn't it? His eyes was on the defender, and he had his hands up on the defender, and in a split second, there's a ball that's banged in. But unfortunately for him, his hand was out, and is stopped a shot on target quite fortuitously, and unfortunately, really. Yeah, it's a pen in the rule book. So if the arm's out, you're gone, no matter what the situation is. So, yep. What about you? Was it a pen?
Yeah, as I said, it's a tough one because, like, if he's close to the ball and it touches his hand in that situation, but he was just so unsighted that his hand just happened to be out when the attacker moved out of the way, and it just clipped him. So yeah, unfortunate one, but it was definitely there for me. The game turned into a bit of a heated battle with several players showing the effects through bruises and bandages and all kinds of things. Yeah, it was City who grabbed the winner when Aziz Bayic found Medin Mehmedi from a yard out to finish. Michael Vowd definitely, if he had his time over, would have come out to claim that ball. But yeah, the result ended in 2-1 to Melbourne City, which is a bit of an upset there. This was Auckland FC's third loss this season. I think they only had 3 all of last season as well, mate. So yeah, it might have hit a little bit of a blip, and it was an important win for Melbourne City as well to bounce back. But yeah, what did you make of that game?
Well, I think we've found another derby, haven't we? Like, this is, they may be far apart, but geez, it was a fiery contest. Two big teams, aren't they? Own big ownership groups and big clubs, and I think we've got a new rivalry and derby on our hands, even though it's a bit of a distance one. Look, I thought Auckland were in control, but as soon as that penalty come in, I thought Auckland completely lost control. Probably Corica, I think if he had his time again, I thought the substitutes didn't favour his side when they were still 1-0 up. And, well, credit to Melbourne City. Didn't they turn it turn it on, didn't they? They totally controlled that game in that last half an hour, and they just kept coming at them, and the football was brilliant. And maybe fortuitous that they got the penalty, but as soon as they got that penalty, they had the foot on the throat, didn't they? And they didn't let Auckland out whatsoever. They just couldn't play their normal game, Auckland, which is very strange. We haven't seen Auckland under that much pressure, but this is the city we all know that can get up to those levels, and they certainly brought their best, didn't they? It's quite incredible too, without Truan and a couple of changes that they had to make, that they really showed that a lot more maturity than I've seen this year. And City grabbed a well-deserved winner, I believe, with Mamedi in there. I did get my wish with Caputo and Nabut starting, but it seemed to be the changes that broke it up that made the difference. So well done to Melbourne City, because I tell you what, they have created an absolute logjam now, haven't they?
Yeah, they were really poor in the first half, particularly early in that first half. But yeah, something clicked into gear during that game, and then they ran over the top of Auckland FC and deservedly got the win.
All right, Brisbane, let's go to their game against Perth. They travelled over to the Perth Glory side, and it was Michael Valkanis had to emergency head back to Greece before this game due to an emergency family event. We wish Valkanis' family all the best, and we hope everyone's okay. His assistant coach, Baja Lima, stepped up and assumed responsibility for the team, and he led the side out on Friday night against Perth Glory. It was in front of a fantastic crowd. What about this? 12,595. Huge event over there for Perth, their biggest crowd of the year, no doubt. And it was a feisty start to the game, no surprises, with a few scuffles and a couple of yellow cards handed out early as the referee tried to ascend his authority. We've seen Adam Taggart got Glory going, latching onto a nice flick from Trent Osler and drove past the keeper. But unfortunately, the other end, Taggart then gave away a penalty where a Brisbane Raw shot hit his arm, with Chris Long dispatching it for his second goal for the club. The goal started a nice spell of dominance for the away side, and they came flying out of the blocks in the second half with Sam Klein's looped header nestling into the net. And despite some chances probably falling Perth's way, an equaliser was not meant to be, and unfortunately went down 2-1 in front of their big home support. So disappointing night for Perth not winning in front of the fans, but it was great to see them back.
Yeah, absolutely. What a fantastic crowd for Perth, and as you said, a shame that they couldn't get the 3 points to send them home happy. But hopefully, a lot of them will come back for future games, because listening through the TV and just seeing all the colour in the ground, it certainly makes it a much better spectacle. And they weren't just there; they were very audible, they were singing and chanting all throughout the game. So it just created an incredible atmosphere. But yeah, a fantastic game. Yeah, well done to Brisbane Raw. Obviously, not only having to travel over to Perth, but also with their head coach, unfortunately, not with them, having to deal with all that as well. So yeah, just when we thought the Brisbane Raw might be slipping a little bit, they come back and pick up a very good win over in the West.
Absolutely. All right, let's go to Newcastle and the Wanderers. And Western Sydney Wanderers' new signing, Hiroshi Oberski, earned a place on the bench. He's the former Western United player, and he is now a Wanderer, and he went in search of back-to-back wins, the Wanderers, for the first time this season. The Jets opened the scoring, though, when Shaughnessy outmuscled his defender to head the ball home in the 15th minute. Eli Adams then did what Eli Adams does, and beating a free kick in from 20 yards with Lawrence Thomas rooted to the spot, but no one was stopping that. No one could even see how fast that ball was going. We thought Superman could fly fast. It smashed the back of the net, and it was typical box office Jets with their first half possession only at 38%, but using the football fast and using it well. Wanderers then had to react, and they brought on Ibushki at half-time, with the Jets also replacing Adams for Bernicello. The Jets continued to be the most likely, though, to score next, but couldn't quite put the game away. Alan Stajic made a triple change then in the 77th minute, but paid immediate dividends with one of those subs, Owen Lyle, getting a goal and back for the home side. But the Jets got very deep in the last 10 minutes, but their defence did enough to hold out for the win, with the Jets missing some good chances late. And now the Jets now move up to third, and the Wanderers are last, hosting Perth next. What do you think of that game?
Oh, mate, box office Jets, and they're actually using that hashtag. They've really leaned into the fact that they're the entertainers of the league, and yeah, just a typical amazing Jets performance. Yeah, open the scoring through Shaughnessy, and then that Eli Adams free kick. It's one of those ones that you just love to watch back over and over again and get all the different angles on it. But it was just an absolute rocket, and yeah, what a player he is turning out to be, and he certainly doesn't score tap-ins. Eli Adams have to be absolute crackers for him to score a goal. But look, one of those ones where the Wanderers, credit to them, they came hard at them late. They're pretty underwhelming. Before that, Iwasuki didn't have a lot of impact off the bench, but give him some time and I'm sure he'll get more settled in at his new club. But yeah, Luau definitely made an impact off the bench. He was very dangerous. But yeah, sad signs for the Wanderers. Now last on the table, Perth up next, which definitely won't be easy for them. But yeah, some troubled times there for the Wanderers and in particular for Alan Stajic.
Yeah, their football just wasn't up for it again, and yeah, they've got to make some answers, and they've got a home game against Perth on Sunday at 5:00. So, yep, hopefully they can bounce back. But the Newcastle Jets are at home against Wellington on Friday night. So if you want to watch some, well, the entertainers. The entertainers Friday night. Let's hope they get a big crowd. Their football is really well deserving, and up to third, they've got a big chance, haven't they, now to close the gap on the top two on Friday night. They're first up.
Yeah,
all right, mate.
Good.
Let's go to, we talk about games delivering. Adelaide beat Melbourne Victory 2-1. Talk us through this one, Chief. This one had about 101 talking points.
Yeah, it was one of the best original rivalry games ever, certainly in my opinion. Full of drama and storylines. Adelaide opened the scoring early when a typical run from Craig Goodwin, including a little cheeky nutmeg, resulted in a low drive and a goal to put Adelaide 1-0 up. Adelaide could have doubled their lead with several good chances inside the box, while Victory were mainly relying on shots from outside the box. The one shot they got on target in the first half was quite an acrobatic effort from Lockie Jackson that Josh Schmitz clawed out, but it was 1-0 at half time. Victory came flying out of the blocks in the second half, but we were commenting through the game, mate, that Victory just did not have their shooting boots on last night. Chance after chance after chance, and it didn't look like they were going to score all. And sure enough, that after one of their missed opportunities, Adelaide went down the other end, and it was Ryan Kiddo who appeared to have put the Reds up 2-0 and almost put the game to bed. But their defence, did put them up 2-0, but the goal was ruled out for offside, unfortunately for the Reds. And then more drama, substitute Matt Grimaldi equalised for Victory and sent the travelling Victory fans into absolute raptures. It appeared as though Grimaldi had bagged the winner when his shot hit the top corner, but the goal was ruled out for offside. Now, this is quite a contentious one, mate. What's your feelings on this one being ruled out for offside?
Oh, I feel sorry for the referees. I know a lot of people are going to say, what are you talking about, Mopper? But yeah, if you look, I think it's Rule 11. I think the rule says if the keeper's line is blocked and they're in offside position, it's not a goal. The problem for the referees is, and we know as football fans, if you look at the outcome, the player who was in line or slightly in line with the keeper really never played a part and the keeper was never going to stop it. And we've seen a lot of these in the Premier League this year where some been given and some haven't because of the finishing of Grimaldi and the finishing of some of the players overseas. But there's nothing in the rule book that allows the football common sense or for the referees to make the decision based on football decisions. Because as football followers, we all know that the keeper, no matter where that player was for Melbourne Victory, he was never going to stop that goal. So a common sense decision needs to be made, but the referees are forced to go to the rule book and follow the rule book, which says if someone's in front and in line, then it's a goal. It has to be denied, sorry. we all know, and probably 99% people, and probably not the fantastic 14,000 Adelaide home fans, was grateful for a little bit of saviour. But in my opinion, my personal opinion is, to me, football needs to come to common sense. The rule books needs to be changed to allow us a little bit of flexibility, because to me, as a football purist, it's a goal. The player did not interfere with the goalkeeper. Yes, he was in front and in some line of vision there, but did not impact the shot, did not impact the goalkeeper in any way. So it should have stood as a goal.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I don't really have too much to add to it. Yeah, I just think it's one of those ones that, if by the letter of the law, it's the correct decision, but it just doesn't feel right for football fans. But yeah, Juan Mata certainly had plenty to say about that one as well, as he got a yellow card as he was leaving the field, and Arthur Dillis, no doubt, has some strong words to say to the referee as he was leaving the field as well. But the drama wasn't done there, mate, because in the dying minutes, Ryan Kiddo did get his goal when his header from across looped into the back of the net. And as you say, that 14,000 odd packed out Cooper Stadium, they just went crazy. And yeah, what a night. It wasn't not the first time that Adelaide United scored a late winner at home this season. And yeah, all for it if that's the kind of scenes that we're going to get. Their strong home form continues. I was just having a look today, mate, at some stats around Melbourne Victory, because I still think their goal scoring is a big issue. And I looked at 11 of Victory's 16 goals this season came in that 4-match winning streak that they put together about a month or so back, with the other 5 coming across the other 9 games. So while in total their goal scoring looks not too bad, really outside of that stretch of those 4 games, yeah, it said 5 in the other 9 games. So that's a really poor return. And yeah, I just think that's still an issue for them. Clearly, they created so many chances last night. But yeah, a finisher is well. And even someone like Volupele, who is normally pretty good, just was off it last night. And I think it's a problem that's probably going to prevent them climbing up the table and having a serious go at some of the teams at the top.
I still think it's tactically, again, they've gone back to that formation that didn't work for them. I'm highly spoken about this week after week. When Dennis Jenner has to play a 6 and back to the wall, we've seen how many times now him lose the ball with the back to his goal. It's not his style. You need to tactically change that in the football pitch. Just play 1-6 and get him out of there. And you have to drop 1 or 2 of them to make it balance out. Too many attacking players in getting caught in the wrong areas. And it takes Grimaldi again to come on to try to balance it out in the front half. Yeah, I think there's probably going to be strong questions asked. I think Virgos was another disappointing game. Maybe he's struggling to adapt to the football over here. I know he scored 5 goals, and it's harsh to say that, but I still think he needs a bit more time. I think he's got the ability and the quality, but just again, they just can't seem to find that right balance. And I just don't like the setup. They've gone back to this setup and they've lost twice. If they and I know the players are going to come back now with the under-23, so it might fix his solution. And I know he's a bit short on players, but again, just tactically tweak it. Where you just play 1-6. If you haven't got 2 6s, don't play 2 6s. I think they probably should set up a slightly better when they've got the ball. But I just think when they're all there, it doesn't work. When 1 or 2 are dropped to the bench and it's balanced out more, they won 4 in a row. So you go back and look at the tactics and formation when they won 4 in a row. I think they'll be back and they'll be fine. They've got that signed their Japanese striker anyway, so I think the goals will flow. And I know the under-23s are out, so they'll be loving having their centre back and number 6 back in the game next week. And I think whoever they've got, I'll have to look up who they've got, because once that Melbourne Victory flows with that right formation, they'll be fine. I think the goals will go banging in, and those 4 games previous proved it.
I think, yeah, you're right. Jordi Valadon coming back into that midfield to play alongside Luis Dorigo will make a big difference. And you point around Nikos Virgos, actually, he almost embodies that stat that I read out before, because he scored a hat-trick against Wellington Phoenix in a 5-1 win, and he also got both goals when they beat Adelaide United. So his 5 goals have come across 2 games, but he's been very, very, very bare for the rest of the season. So you really want your striker being more consistent rather than banging in those goals in just one lot of games.
Definitely. Big Blue next week too, Australia Day. It's going to be a massive crowd. And we've just seen what happened to Sydney FC. What pressure. But the beauty of it is the loss still doesn't impact them because the ladder is so tight. So again, they do another 3 or 4 game swing around. And they could be potentially anywhere. They're just lucky that the teams in front just continue not to be able to get away, which allows victory still to pounce in the second half of the season. So we know they've got the talent. There's no doubt about it. It's just when it clicks, and when it doesn't, it doesn't. And yes, they were very wasteful, but credit to the home crowd, the 12th man of Adelaide United. And with all those players out as well, Adelaide will be loving having those 4 players back from overseas as well, because they've been absolutely cut down, haven't they? But great leadership from Goodwin again. A great response with the home crowd, and wasn't it exciting to see? I talk about the positive stuff. Johnny Yole, we've watched him in the under-20s really come of age, wasn't he? Down the right, down the left, taking more responsibility. And I think with those 4 players being away, he had to, and he really stepped up and delivered. So well done to him. There was and can't go past Grimaldi. He's got to start, doesn't he? He's the one that's really showing the attacking threat and the finishing. So maybe he should be back in there and 1 or 2 players drop to fit him in there, because you seriously got to ask the question. That's the second time he would have scored potentially 3 goals in the last 2 games. So could have picked up 6 points for him, but unfortunately was denied by that call, I would say.
Yep, massive game for Melbourne Victory and Sydney FC next week. We'll get to them in just a sec, but let's firstly go to the Mariners playing against Macarthur. This game was supposed to be played on Saturday evening, but the match was delayed due to a waterlogged pitch. They finally got underway today, mate, but there was still plenty of water on that pitch, plenty of puddles splashing up. The Mariners immediately started their new signings, Ali Orgler, Ollie Laval, and the former Fulham product, Chris Donnell. But it was a very slow start from the home side, with Macarthur completely dominating the first 25 minutes or so. But a tactical switch from the Mariners around that 25-minute mark sparked them into action, with Ollie Laval rattling the crossbar with his first shot of the game and the first shot of the game for the Mariners. The Mariners had a good spell, albeit a small one, on the back of that opportunity, but it was the Bulls who closed out the half stronger. Mitch Duke was introduced in the 61st minute for his first time on the pitch for Macarthur, and it was him that combined well with substitute Luke Vickery, who came along with Duke. Not long after, cheeky back heel from Duke going to Vickery, who put it away with the aid of a deflection. Duke actually missed a couple of chances either side of that setup, normally ones that he would bury, so probably just trying to find his feet a little bit. But it was another substitution that was next on the score sheet when Miguel De Pizio played in Sabat Nuor, who rounded Philip Curto and somehow got the ball past the scrambling Matt German. Looked like he had it covered there, but it kind of just bounced over his leg and into the back of the net. Both teams had some chances late, but the game ends in a 1-1 draw, with the Mariners moving off the bottom of the ladder. So huge missed opportunity there for the Macarthur Bulls. They really would have been banking on getting those 3 points and staying in touch, particularly with Sydney FC and Auckland both losing. They had a real opportunity to get some points back, but dropped 2 points anyway against the Mariners, who did, obviously they've had a terrible week at the club, but I think smart by Warren Moon bringing in those 3 new signings, both for their footballing ability, but probably just to have 3 less players that have had to carry that burden, where they're not having to bring in all that baggage. But certainly Orgler and Laval up front looked very dangerous, plenty of speed and plenty of directness, which I think is going to help them longer term. And Chris Donnell solid enough in that midfield. I think all got taken off around that 70th minute mark when they kind of ran out of legs. But yeah, good performance from the Mariners after a really tough week.
I can't speak highly enough of the fans that turned up and, especially after the game was moved. And again, the resilience of Central Coast to perform at this level has been nothing short of fantastic. Macarthur have missed a major opportunity, haven't they? And they'll pay the price for that. And we'll have to bounce back next week. But full credit for both teams for what their performance is under very difficult circumstances with that weather and under difficult circumstances, the Mariners after the week that they've had. All right, mate. We this one just takes the cake, doesn't it? Let's go on and move on to Wellington versus Sydney and break it down for me because I just cannot believe this result.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like just Sydney FC returning to Allianz Stadium, supposed to be, a great performance from them, and playing a team that has struggled to not concede goals throughout the season. And yeah, the Knicks spoil Sydney FC's return to Allianz with a 2-0 win. Sky Blues missing the chance to go top of the league with Auckland FC losing. It was Carlo Armiento who opened the scoring for Wellington before Reece Yuli was sent off. Pretty awful tackle from Yuli, one that he'll regret for sure just before half time. And then it was Isaac Hughes who scored his second goal in as many weeks to double the visitors' lead. With the win, moving them up to 8th, the Sky Blues will absolutely be ruining this chance to go top of the league. So, yeah, it's just, that was one you could almost put your house on, mate, because, it just looked like, everything was aligned. The Sydney FC returning to Allianz, chance to go top. But, it's funny that Wellington Phoenix, with this result, have kept Auckland FC top of the league.
I just still can't believe it. And this is the beauty of football, isn't it? Like, there's no way that anyone would have thought it, except Wellington, of course, who have gone away to Redcliffe and done the same thing to Brisbane, and now they've gone to Sydney and won. So, yeah, it's unbelievable. And it's really, that victory tonight has turned that A-League table completely into a sardine because it is so tight. And the game's coming up, like I said, with Sydney. They've got the Big Blue, the Derby, and then away to Auckland. So that's a massive loss. Now they're faced with the 3 biggest challenges in the next 3 weeks on all key dates. So watch this space. The A-League just, wow. Great to see the crowds back too. 3,500 at Sydney today. And shout out to obviously Perth and Adelaide who put out superb crowds this week. So great to see that the football that we're seeing and the tightness of the ladder with everyone being competing. Yes, this is going to be unreal. And geez, I guess the most disappointed team of the week is going to be probably the Macarthur Bulls and Western Sydney Wanderers, the teams out in Western Sydney out there. So, I'm sure another week in football will be completely different next week again.
Yeah, so Wellington Phoenix picked up a player during the week as well, Cam Devlin's teammate at Hearts. He's a Norwegian player. He's come in as a number 10. So, he'll add a bit to Wellington Phoenix as well. And as I said, they're up to 8th now. So still hanging around there where, we thought they might be down toward the bottom of the table. But every time we write them off, they come back. All right, let's finish off with the A-League Women's. Big upset on Friday with the Jets beating City 3-1. This was the first ever time that the Jets had beaten City in the A-League women's competition. The Wanderers missed a chance to get their second win of the season when they conceded a stoppage time goal to Brisbane Roar's Benti Jansen, which through a game ending in a 1-1 draw. Adelaide did the double over Melbourne Victory. Fiona Wards scoring a contender for goal of the season. Absolute screamer for the Reds. And then Paige Zoyce scored an Olympico. Kennedy White continued her good goal-scoring form for the Melbourne Victory. She scored her 7th of the season, but to no avail. And then we saw 2 late goals for Wellington Phoenix, who picked up a good win over Canberra. 17-year-old Kiwi Pia Vlok scoring an absolute screamer in this one. Really fantastic to see that one. And then in the game this afternoon, the Central Coast Mariners had a 1-1 draw with Perth Glory. Peter Trimmis again on the score sheet for the Mariners, and Fong Song Kian scored the goal for Perth Glory. So yeah, big week again in the A-League women's competition, with some unpredictable results coming up in that competition as well.
Yeah, look, credit to the Jets too. 2 wins in the week. They beat Sydney midweek as well. So 6 points lifts them up to the table. And like you said, the big win there.
Let's finish off with Team of the Week, Mopper. We got Matty Ryan in goals for his performances for Levante. Ryan Kiddo was really good for Adelaide and obviously popped up with the winner. LH Cardi in the defence as well. Nathaniel Atkinson was great for Melbourne City on Friday night. Sam Klein got his goal but performed very well in the midfield for Brisbane Roar over Perth Glory. And then we've got some goal scorers in Sammy Silvera, Eli Adams, and Ajdin Hrustic in the midfield. Johnny Yole's also going to join them as well, as you mentioned before, Mopper. Fantastic game for him in the midfield for Adelaide United. And then a few more goal scorers up front. Sam Kerr for her double for Chelsea, and Adrian Segecic for his. And now I need your super sub, Mopper.
Oh, Millie Casa scored a great goal against Newcastle, only 17 years of age. I've just wanted to give her a big rap. I know Sydney FC are struggling in the Ninja A-League, but she scored a great goal, and there was a fantastic shot there against Newcastle at Leichhardt Oval. So,
thank you for your time this evening, Mopper. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll be back with another midweek bonus episode. In the meantime, enjoy football.
All the best, everyone.